let's see how bad I look. Yeah, there's Grogu behind me. But this is our basement. Yeah, I didn't finish the trim here. This wall's supposed to come down. Future stuff. Yeah, we did this is a tangent to begin with. Sandy and I, when we moved in together, our very first rental was this basement. And it was an L-shaped basement. And back here, this wall right here, backwards, this is the Lego room wall. And that's the Lego room wall. And this is the laundry room wall. And the laundry room wall used to come to right there, and then go straight back that way. And we took an extra 2 feet off, and then we made a nice little rec room, nice little rectangle rec room, and then the leg room is behind there. And one side is 5 feet wide, and the other side is 8 feet wide, and this is the difference here. With the intent that, so this is new drywall, and this is old crap that has drywall on top and paneling on the bottom, and this chair rail, and an old phone connection that doesn't do anything because there's no phone lines in the house anymore. The intent that we were going to remove this wall at some point, re-drywall it, and put insulation behind it, so you won't hear the laundry, because you can hear that right now. So the idea was the rec room would be insulated from the laundry room, and we were going to get to that, and we just never got there. It's on the books, on the plan. And so Sandy and I renovated this room first, when we first moved in together, and then we renovated the kitchen and the main room right before we had Joshua. And in order to do that, to renovate the kitchen, we moved basically the entire kitchen. And then I had to run new plumbing and a 220 outlet for the stove. And so I had to tear down the ceiling, parts of the ceiling, the brand new drywall. Because when I moved in, this was a drop ceiling, and I just can't stand drop ceilings. I really can't. So I put all the nice little drywall up there, and sealed it, painted it, blah blah. And then a couple years later, I cut big, huge troughs in there so I could drill the holes through the joist to get the 220 to where I needed it for the stove in the new kitchen, because the stove wasn't originally where it was in the old kitchen, because we took out the old kitchen and made our living room bigger. And so this room hasn't been really fixed since then. And so I'm looking at the ceiling now, and it's like, oh, well, I have to do stuff. So our next big reno is to fix this room up again. And of course, the leg room wasn't built till well after. So the leg room was just an addition to keep the Lego out of the rec room. Since I'm in a mood to downsize, I'm thinking we're going to reevaluate that plan, and we're probably going to take out this wall and just have the back wall of the house in the rec room just be the shelves for the Lego. And I'm hoping that I downsize enough that that's all I will need, 18 feet of shelving for my Lego collection, and put it like a desk right in the middle or around the corner, and still have the laundry room separate, obviously, and insulate a wall so you don't hear the laundry machine when you're sitting out here watching TV or playing video games and whatever else like that. So at the plan, fix the ceiling, because the ceiling has to be fixed. And so anyway, that was a tangent to start. I'm just sitting on the couch. I just loaded the van. So this is where the actual story comes in. I just loaded the van for Bricks in the Six, which I will be driving to tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. So that's be Thursday. Today, this is filmed on Wednesday. I don't know when I'm going to drop this video. And I'm gonna say this as and I don't want people to misconstrue this. My absolute favorite brick conventions were Brick Fete, by far. And I don't go to a lot of them anyway, but I've been to a bunch. And we've done other shows other than, brick conventions. We did the hobby shows and Toy Train All shows and Collector Con shows. But my absolute favorite conventions by far were Brick Fete conventions. And I didn't get to all of them for other reasons, but I got to most of them. And I displayed at the ones that I was at. And it is because, straight up, it was because Jeannie, my very good and dear friend, was running it. And I adore, I love everybody. I love the entire community. There's nobody in the community right now that I said, ooh, I don't want to hang around them. Everybody I've come across, well, virtually in the world, and personally at other shows, I want to be around. I want to hang around because they're all adorable people. They might not want to be called adorable. That's what I'm saying. I'll use the word ambivalence, but it's not exactly the right word. My slow to jump on the bandwagon of Toro Lug was just because I am old school. I am old school, and I was RTL Toronto. I wasn't at the beginning of RTL Toronto. I was at Chris and Callum show. But I was at the RTL 3, so I was right back at the beginning, and I loved RTL Toronto. I loved the people that were part of RTL Toronto, and blah, blah, blah. And forget the moment of time between RTL Toronto and Toro Lug, where RTL Toronto's was sunsetting and Toro Lug was ramping up. There was stuff there that I'm not even going to go into because I wasn't part of, privy to, and or whatever. But I wasn't going to jump into straight from RTL Toronto to Toro Lug, and I'm going to call it like breaking up or losing a relationship and jumping right back into the next one. I was just going to do my own thing for a while, and I did. I mean, you look at my videos, I did a whole bunch of shows on my own. Like I did. And RTL Toronto wasn't part of Brick Fett, but RTL Toronto, a lot of people that were part of RTL Toronto were also part of Brick Fett. And so that was, I love being part of that group. Now, I was never, and thankfully, smartly, I was never part of the core team of Brick Fett, because I am the person that expect to see me when you see me, because my life does get in the way, and I do over volunteer. I do I absolutely can do that. And then the time comes, I'm like, oh, like, no, I can't. Because I've always been that way, and I'm trying to be better. I'm trying not to spread myself too thin. Although what happened this weekend, completely outside my purview, is that we're going to be at the show for 4 days, Thursday to Sunday. And then Monday morning at 6 a.m. I have to be at the Toronto International Airport and flying to Edmonton for work. That was completely outside my purview, is what had to happen, and I'll be fine. Because I've done this before, but being here at my age now, I'm less enthusiastic about that. I wish there was some space in between the show and me going on a business trip, but life happens, and I've done this before in a lot worse cases and blah blah blah. So I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna sleep on the plane before I get to Edmonton. But anyway, so RTL Toronto was waning. Toro Lug is ramping up, and there was so many wonderful people already in Toro Lug at the beginning that I knew even back then, but I've come to know, and other people I've come to know now, and they were going to Brick Fett, and so I got to know a bunch of them, but I was still, you know, holding a torch, or not necessarily thinking it was going to revive itself, but RTL Toronto, doing the dinners, doing all that stuff, but I was doing my own shows, and people would show up to some of my shows, and it's fantastic. We weren't under the umbrella of RTL Toronto. RTL Toronto was no longer a formal lug at all, and Toro Lug was a lug, and I was supporting them as best I could without being part of them, and so and online and whatever else like that. So I didn't really join Toro Lug until it was last year, the year before. Toro Lug's been well before, like I said, halfway through Brick Fett. I think Toro Lug was around. I don't think Toro Lug was around during the very first Brick Fett, but halfway through the reign of Brick Fett, Toro Lug became the de facto group of the Toronto GTA area. And I just was busy doing my own thing. Again, I wasn't going to volunteer for things. I have a very my way of handling volunteer organizations now, because I was in Boy Scouts for 3 decades. I was doing stuff for the church for decades. I was doing all this stuff for family, that when they volunteer for stuff and charity drives and blah, blah, blah. I did all that from my youth until, well, my 20s and 30s. And I mentioned it before. I personally, seeing what was going on with my mom and the love-hate relationship that she had with Boy Scouts of Canada, and the Come Here, Go Away, because of the vitriol and the Karens, and if I want to use that expression, I hate using that expression, but there's no other comparable expression. The whiners, and the I didn't get, and why aren't you doing this for me, and blah blah blah. You didn't do enough for my kid, and blah blah. And I see my mom basically in tears after these things, because she just gives her whole heart and soul, like I used to all these organizations and whatever else she was volunteering for. And it's not, it wasn't that my mom never did anything, just like I've mentioned this before. I don't do anything for recognition. I don't. I applause, a pat in the back. Don't care. I don't care. I don't need people. I don't need people blowing smoke up my skirt. That's an old expression. That's an old-timey expression. I don't need people to do that. I'm gonna show up anyway. I make these videos. I don't need people saying, "Oh, if you want to say you like it, absolutely. I will not. I don't read into this. So if people respond to my videos or anything else I do, oh, Dave, that's fantastic. I will accept it graciously and thank you very much. But if people come up with the idea that they have to do this in order to appease me, no. You do it because you want to do it. I've said this a million times. You do what you want to do to make you happy. I'm going to keep doing this, but nobody says they like it. I don't care. I don't care. If nobody likes it, I'm going to keep on doing it. I wrote as a community newspaper. 5 people wrote it. That's fine. Whatever. My friends. I wrote a book. Sold 30 copies. Yay! That's fine. That's right. So it's like, external justification or external encouragement is nice. Don't get me wrong. And external edification is nice. But for me, it's never been necessary. External validation has never been part of my need to go pursue what I want to pursue. So I'm going to keep on doing this. So anyway, so going back to that, this is a tangent. So I was more than willing to have the Dave and Sandy dinners, and not underneath the RTL umbrella, but we call it RTL Toronto. I still post on Lugnet, by the way, in RTL Toronto. One of the few people who still posts the Lugnet. Number 1 for a bunch of years now. Yay! Number 1 poster. 5. But and I will continue to be like. And my mom, she knew this when I was a kid. My family knew this as a kid. I'm just going to march to my own drummer. I'm going to do what I want to do as long as I believe I'm not hurting anybody else. I'm going to keep on being happy with what I do. And if I'm not happy with what I do, I'm going to stop doing it. And I've been doing this Lego stuff since my earliest memories. And I did it like back in the day before pre-internet. Like, okay, so let's, not a tangent, but this is related. So it's not really tangent. My various earliest memories, I've said this a million times, me playing with Lego, because older cousins, older brother, Lego in the house. So my earliest memories, and there was no Duplo back then, so but my earliest memories are building, and there was the basic bricks. Like, they didn't have 1978 on with the minifigs and the modified plates, whatever. It was just bricks, wheels, and doors, and houses, and roof slopes. Like, I mean, there wasn't. You look at the sets 2, 4, 6, 8, and all those. Go back to 1973. Open up a brochure. The basic pieces, and I'm 3 or 4 years old in 1971, and I'm playing with this stuff, and I'm building whatever I wanted, and my mom could leave me alone with the Lego for hours. Like, I was never, and she's always said this, I was never one of these needy kids that needed parental attention to help me get through a day. I'm bored. Oh, I'm bored. Not one, and I said this, and it bothers my kids so much. I've never been bored, not just a day. I've never been bored a minute in my life. And I'm 50 plus years old. I've never sat there, oh, what am I going to do? There's a million things for me to do, including right behind me where there's, you know, a very bad guesstimate of 500,000 pieces of Lego sitting right there. I have that at minimum. And if I'm not there and I want to, I'm just thinking about it. Oh, I'm going to build here. I'm going to change this and whatever. So even when I'm sitting, I'm not bored because my brain's always thinking about various things. So that was from 0 for 4 years, my earliest memories on, but then I have friends to play with, and my cousins to play with, and blah blah blah. But after a while, it was just me. It was just me. And then I met Jake, and we made the movie. But I was a teenager, like I was heavy into my teens. Well, yeah, in my teens, 1984, 1985, when we made the movie. But when the movie was done, Jake, no more Lego. Pete that gave up Lego years before that. And then it was just me, and it was just, I had my little space layouts, and I had my whatever, and I was writing my little stories, my Lego Wars saga, which I've shown you before. Can't call it Lego Wars. Thank you, Harriet L. Jansen, Lanson, whatever. Hope you're doing well. Legal department. I make it epic, and they send the legal department after me. And so here's me going my teens into my 20s, playing with Lego by myself, with no external edification. I don't need people saying, "Oh, Dave, yeah, that's great." No, I don't need that. I was building space dioramas when I'm in my 19, 20, 21 across the ping pong table in the house that I moved into with my friends. I was having a great time with it. I was building Technic. I was building interface cards for my Commodore 64. I did all that for myself. If other people liked it, that's great. Come along. This is my whole MO, mode de operandi, my whole MO for my life. I'm walking in this direction. I'm going to keep on walking in this direction. I'm going to walk there because I like it. I like it. I like it, and I don't need other people to say, "Oh, Dave, that's a good idea," or "This is fun, Dave." Like, if they want to, walk beside me. Absolutely. But I don't need it. I love it. I love people enjoying the hobby with me. I love it, and that's what makes it better for me, because the external impetus is other people who do like it. And they say they like what I'm doing, and I like what they're doing. It's mutual. It's a mutual admiration society. I like that mutual admiration for the people around me. I admire and respect and consider close friends people I've met online. I've never met in real life, but I like the mutual admiration society, and I also straight up like to throw ideas out there and have people throw ideas. I get emails. "Hey Dave, I'm building this. What do you think?" "Oh, let's have a discussion about it." Like, and not a single person has sent me an email and I'm looking at it, I don't want to talk. No, I've talked about this. I'm enthusiastic about other people's enthusiasm, and they're passionate about what they're building. And seriously, without word of a lie, everything that people send me is fantastic. And again, I will say, and this is not self-deprecating, I do have a unique or an old school style of building, and most of my friends who build in this genre have like I would say a very, very new way of building, like snot and no 90-degree angles and blah blah, and I adore that. And I'm not saying my building is inferior, but my building is old school. And that's why I put it. It's not inferior to the new building. It's just an old way of doing things versus a new way of doing things. And I think there's room in the world for both. And therefore, I'm going to keep on doing it my way. And I encourage people to do it their way. They do it however they want to. And they can say, "Oh, Dave, look at this. How do you think? What do you think? What do you think?" And we have a discussion back and forth in email. "Oh, did you try this piece? Well, what about that? What about..." Perfect. Absolutely perfect. And I've done the same thing. One of my favorite, and it was a impromptu collaboration, and it led to what you're going to see this weekend at Bricks in the Six. Is I had an idea in my head, and this is, I can't even remember, this is well before BrickFat. We were at one of the toy shows, one of the toy train. It might have even been the hobby show, which is the beginning of our not doing RTL Toronto robot competitions. Like we did a couple train shows on our own, but we went to the hobby show. And what I got an idea in my head that I wanted to externally power my monorails. So this has been 25, 30 years in the making. Like, when you think about it, the external power for monorails has got to be 25. It was well before I met Sandy. So it's got to be at least 25, 30 years ago. We'll say 25. So I had an idea. And what I did is, at the show, I brought my soldering iron. I brought some monorail track. I brought a train controller. And I did have a train controller. And my buddy Derek and I started pontificating, started working things out, like it's an impromptu collaboration. And so he was helping me, Callum was there, Callum was giving me input, Jeffy was there, and we're all, oh, this is going to be great. And we tried it, and I wish I could, I don't know if it's even on my YouTube. Basically, I took the train controller and I had the wire coming off, the 9-volt wire, and I snipped the wire, and I had the 2 wires of the train controller, the 2 9-volt wires separated, and I just touched them to the copper on the track, like they weren't even soldered to the track. And then you see the motor, because of course we were holding it. We didn't have room to put it on the table, so Derek's holding the monorail, and I'm holding the wires to the copper, and this is gonna be awesome. And that's how this, in the real world, it's not my head, because in my head I ruminate about things forever before they actually come out in the real world. But it was fantastic. And I will say this right now, you've seen my past weeks of videos talking about the monorail and the copper. Every time I'm doing it now, I still remember that exact moment in time that started this with Derek and Callum and Jeffy and other people, and how much joy I had. It looked like they had too, the collaboration. So I adore those kind of collaborations, and I felt, and this is kind of already getting too long, but I felt the same kind of joy when I read the post about, I can't, I'll pronounce it probably, Hashima, the big thing at Brick World, and Simon's bringing his section up here for Bricks in the Six, and I can't wait to see it. But when I read through the article last week, I'm going, I felt that joy from them, that overwhelming, this is absolutely the fantastic, awesome stuff that's ever going to happen. Like, it was just the exuberance of enthusiasm of the collaboration. Like, so I'm a big fan. I'm not solo. I'm not like a standalone over there in the wilderness by myself. I'm a big fan of collabs. I'm a big fan of working together. I'm a big fan of whatever. But I also want to temper that with the people who need external validation to continue on with something. And I've seen that so many times where somebody builds something that they think is fantastically awesome. They put it out there and nobody responds to it. They go, oh, what kind of, nobody likes what I'm doing. Dude, I'm involved in far too many groups to like be able to focus on everything. If I like something, I will, in Facebook, I'll just hit a like, or if I really like something, I'll put a little post in the bottom. But I can't validate people who are looking for validation. That's not my job. If you don't have the validation from within yourself to do what you want to do, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. This isn't a rant, but I think that there's a deficiency, and I think it's especially endemic to younger generations who always ran to the parents for validation, and the parents always gave them validation. And there's nothing wrong with that, except as soon as they get into adulthood, the parents are not there anymore to give them the validation that they're looking for in order to continue with whatever they're doing. And then they get frustrated and then they give up. And I have a tough time with that, because the validation should come from within first. I want to do this. And again, the proviso, if it's not harming anybody else, if it's not causing a negative impact, blah, blah, blah. Like those say, go do whatever you want and be happy about it. That's not what I'm saying. But if you're doing something that's not harming other people and not causing harm to the environment or negatively impacting anything, and you're getting joy of it, enjoy that joy. Enjoy that joy for yourself. Don't say, oh, I'm not going to be happy until other people are happy I'm doing this. Are you kidding? No, absolutely not. Again, my whole life says no. Be happy with yourself. Be happy with what you're doing. If something makes you happy, who cares what anybody else thinks? Who cares? Like, why I never understood that. To look, oh, look what I did, and looking around and say, when is somebody going to like this? I'm not going to be happy unless somebody else likes this. that don't fly. If other people like it, it's a bonus. Like that's my whole point. When other people like my layout, it's a huge bonus. I did not put all this work into this layout for all these years. For me, just to get external validation. And again, when I look at it, I say, this is fantastic. And I look at Simon's, I go, I tell you the story about the CN Tower climb, where and this is a brief tangent, but somewhat related. I climbed the steps of the CN Tower for raising charity 1 year, years ago. About 21 years ago, I climbed the CN Tower. So 1,776 stairs. I counted in my head. I could have lost count, but I remember it being around 1776 because that was an interesting number. But from the base to the top, and we were raising money for, I can't remember which charity. It was like 21 years ago. And I get there at 6 o'clock in the morning, and they let batches of people go into the CN Tower and to climb the stairs. And I get there at 6 o'clock in the morning, and all the way up to the top. And I get out the door, and there's a timer here because you have a piece of paper at the bottom, and you give it to the guy at the top. And he goes 32 minutes. I go, and I used to know the numbers, but I think it's 1,300 feet from the deck, from the base to the observation deck. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I talked about the CN Tower. But it's 1,776 steps, and they go, ooh, 32 minutes. I thought, that's pretty good. With me being out of shape and pushing a keyboard for 30 years, whatever. I felt happy. 32 minutes. I'm happy. And there's a DJ up there, and he's got the music playing because we're celebrating. We're making money for whatever charity, and people are mingling. You get a bottle of water. You get a free T-shirt. I don't have it anymore. You get a free T-shirt, and they write the number on it. CN Tower climb, Dave K, 32 minutes and 2 seconds. And I'm feeling pretty happy with myself. I raised money for charity, and I'm feeling happy that I did it in 32 minutes because I'm looking at around, there's 40, and nothing wrong with that. Like that's great. But for me, hey, I did 32. Again, I wasn't like touting it. I wasn't like, hey, look at me, look at me, look at the 32-minute guy, because I'm not that guy either. But I'm feeling happy. Without exercising for a long time, whatever. And then the DJ stops. And he says, stops the music. Oh, wait, whoa. And he gets the microphone. And he goes, hey, this is Joe Blow in the ETAJ booth. We got a major announcement for this party going on here. In the 80-year-old plus category. Now, I'm 50, so I'd have been 34 or 33 at the time, by the way, when this happened. And he goes, in the 80-year plus category, we have a new world record, 18 minutes. 18 minutes. And I stop, just kind of shake my head. Nicely done, guy. Nicely done. I just went to the elevator, went down, drove home. I think it's a cute story. I think it's funny. So I always like that story because it's fun. And I remember that day. And but you don't do things for other people. Well, you do things for other people because that's what we're supposed to do in a society. I talked about that before too. But don't look for things to validate your existence and your happiness, your internal happiness from other people. That honestly should come from within first. And this is like a life lesson, because even for relationships, if you're in a relationship and you're in that relationship because the other person you need that other person to validate your existence, to validate your happiness, to validate stuff. I mean, it's great when they do, but that shouldn't be the root reason why you're in that relationship. And that you should, because if that relationship disappears tomorrow, what happens? Right? Then you're on your own without that external impetus, input to make you feel good about yourself. The feeling good about yourself should come from within. And when you exude your happiness of who you are and what you're doing, like all my friends do, you'll find yourself, they use the word snowballing. It builds upon, builds upon, builds upon. Like it's like, instead of like a spiraling down, it's a spiraling up. So if you exude light and energy and happiness for what you're doing amongst other people who are doing similar things, and you're part of a group, and you're just enthusiastic, and then again, I'm going to bring up my friend Simon. Oh my goodness, that guy just exudes joy and happiness for this hobby. And and he's a friend, but I've seen him for a while now. And I think from my perspective of my friend Simon, is that he would do this anyway, whether or not he gets external validation. Like, he's passionate about the hobby. He's doing all these wonderful things, and just his enthusiasm is contagious. Some people don't like how enthusiastic he is. I adore it. I will watch it. I've been to a bunch of shows with him, and he is just the most. I don't have that energy. I really don't. I sit back, watch the world go by. I just am in the world, and so I'm glad he's being recognized. I'm glad he and people like him, like my buddy Nick, I'm glad they're being recognized for the enthusiasm that they have for this hobby, and the I don't want to call it the it's a church word, the outreach. It's a good word for it. What's this? The outreach to other people and to bring them into the community. I find Simon to be very good at that, because enthusiasm is contagious. And so if you're enthusiastic and they're enthusiastic, you can build on that. But again, I'm going to bring it right back. If that external enthusiasm disappears, what are you left with? And so that's something I learned way back when I was doing all these Christian stuff. Not so much anymore, but back then, and I fundamentally agree with this point, and it stuck with me for ages. Is, who are you when you are alone? Like, who are you when you're alone? Like, when there's nobody else watching. Who are you when you're alone, when there's nobody to guide your thoughts and your deeds and your actions and who you are? Who are you when you're sitting in your house? I moved out when I was 19. I lived with friends for a while, but then we all went our separate ways. So I lived on my own for a long time. I'd come home to an empty house. I didn't care. Friends would stop by every once in a while, and I'd go see friends once in a while. But I enjoyed me alone in the house, playing with Lego, building my wood shop, riding my bike around, and also enjoyed hanging with my friends doing the same thing. But who are you when you're alone? What deeds are you doing? What thoughts are you having? Where are you going with your life when you're alone? And I think that's the most defining and also the most important thing in your entire existence, is who are you when you're alone? Because if there's nobody there to see what you're doing, and there's nobody there to guide your thoughts, and there's nobody there to give you criticisms or encouragement, if there's nobody else there, where is it coming from? It has to come from within. And believe it or not, there are times when you're going to be alone. I know that. I was alone for many years until Sandy moved in. And so, but my parents always told me this, I was always comfortable in whatever situation I found myself in, whatever. I never, and this is something that Sandy and I talk about. I don't need a lot of planning. I would come home and, we have to go do this. Sure, got the keys, let's go. And it works with IT too, because I've told this to my boss a million times, and been doing this for 35 years. Most of the time, when something is awry, as they say, you're walking into a situation and you have no concept, zero concept of what's going on at the beginning, and what you're going to do about it. But if you watch the Martian, you hear Matt talk to the students at the end. You show up. You didn't say that word, but it's basically inferred. You show up and you start and you go. You don't think it's overwhelming. It could be the biggest. So another relevant tangent. I was camping a bunch of years back, Sandy and Josh, and a huge storm came through overnight, even when we were camping, and my phone rang at 6 o'clock in the morning, Saturday morning, and the asphalt plant got struck by lightning right on the operations tower. They had a big, huge antenna left over from the CV days, but they had an antenna tower, and it hit the tower, which was attached to the operations booth, and the lightning strike fused, melted, and completely decimated all the PLCs, all the wiring, all the networks, like everything. Everything was completely dead. And they called me on the cell phone. They said, Dave, we're dead, and we need to be up and running because MTO and blah, 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 job, blah, blah. Okay, 6 o'clock in the morning. I leave the campsite. And I have no idea I have no idea what I'm going to face when I get there. And I have a concept of what I'm going to do and where I'm going to like sniff parts from here and there and everywhere to get them up and running again. But, you know, you don't know what you have no idea what you're going to face when you walk into that building. So I walked in there, and they have all these aluminum conduits going to all the PLCs out in the big towers and the asphalts and blah, 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 and the silos and all that stuff. And they were just pulling out, the guys were just pulling out all these 60 bundles of 60 wires that were just melted together, like the big stuck spaghetti, just bleh, just completely melted. And so that's what they were doing, not my job. I wouldn't know how to help them. But for me, it was the network, all the switches and the phones and blah, blah, blah. And so I just started, well, one switch at a time. Dead, dead, dead. 4 switches. Dead. And that was like across the buildings, across the property. And to this day, and I love talking about this one, so it's a huge piece of property, a bunch of acres, and the front office, and then it goes in an underground conduit fiber connection because it's far too far for a Cat 5 or a Cat 6, of Cat 5 back in Cat 6. It's like a half a kilometer to the operations center. And what had happened was the lightning hit the operations center, took out the switch in the operations center, traveled across the Cat 6 to the scale house, which was pretty close to the operations center, took that switch out, but it traveled along the fiber, and people are saying, it doesn't travel along fiber. I don't care what you say. I do not care at all, because I understand electricity will not travel across fiber, because fiber is not metal. It's not. But the switch in the operations center are completely dead. The switch in the scale is completely dead. It got that one because it's the Cat 5 cable back then. The switch in the main rack that was connected to that fiber and that's the only thing that was connected between those 2 switches was a fiber patch, and it was dead. The main switch was dead. Oh, that's not possible, dude. The switch was dead. So I had 3 or 4 dead switches. Lightning didn't hit the main building. Lightning hit the operations center, which is a half a kilometer away from the main building. And the only thing connecting the main building to the operations console, operations tower, was that fiber connection. Nothing else in the main building was affected. Nothing else in the main building was affected. That fiber patch conducted somehow, I don't know how, conducted the lightning strike to the main rack. So anyway, thankfully my boss, being as brilliant as he always was, we had redundant switches. We had redundant switches in every single rack. Redundant switches, hot swap redundant switches. So let's get it all working. Phone's up and running by 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning. PCs are plugged back in. I've had a couple dead PCs and whatever, and re-imaged and whatever, grabbed from the office. There you go. Here's your, so you can run the software to run the PLCs. The PLCs is their problem. And I was out of there by noon. Out of there, 6 o'clock, I got the call. I was done the entire network fix by noon. Back at camping by 1. Monday morning, I showed up, ordered 3 brand new switches to replace the dead switches. Life went on. But I had no idea before 6 o'clock in the morning, or when I was driving from the campsite, what I was going to face. And this is life of IT, by the way. You have no idea. Like a doctor, you walk into like a room and you have no idea what the patient has going on. But this is what I'm used to, and I'm used to handling it as I do, which is, you know, as Matt Damon would say, break it down to small parts. Take care of the first part. When it's working, go on to the next part and get that working, and go on to the next part. Don't say, oh, the whole big package is so overwhelming. The place was hit by lightning. The place was dead. There was not a power. Like the breaker panel they had to rewire back down the breaker panel. Like it was bad. It was honestly bad. And people are running around. Oh, MTO job, blah, blah, it's contract, blah, blah, blah. We got to get the dump trucks going, blah, blah, blah. Sure, yeah, on it. I'm walking around, it's Chester switch, that's dead. So I do find that it's almost, my dad used to call it my laissez-faire, my cavalier attitude. I call it laissez-faire, my cavalier attitude towards life. And I don't think it's cavalier. Cavalier infers a not caring. I'm cavalier towards that. I'm cavalier towards my friends. I'm cavalier towards responsibility. I'm cavalier towards whatever. That is patently absurd. I am not cavalier about anything, but I am laissez-faire about almost everything. Two different things. I am like, whatever happens, happens. And I will deal with it as it happens. I don't do a lot of forethought. I don't do a lot of worrying, a lot of angst, a lot of, I think about what I need to think about. Like when I was driving down to the lightning strike, I was thinking, yes, I have spare switches here, here, and here, blah, blah, if this is it. So there's a few things in my head. Like I just didn't walk in like without any thought before I got there. But I thought, I know where everything is. I called my boss, I left a message because I told him I got the call. He called me around 11 o'clock in the morning and said, do you need any help? Nope, got it. But you should know, and we're going to have to order new switches by Monday. I don't know how many yet. I'll let you know when I'm done. If I needed help, I would have asked him to come down for help. But right now, it's a one-man job because like people are just being away. And there was 20 people running around, scurrying around anyway. So adding more people to the mix would just add more overhead. So I believe in myself that I have enough understanding of those kind of situations to say whether or not I need to leverage more help to come in. It's an emergency situation. And if I needed more help, absolutely, I know who to call and whatever. But I'm not going to sit there, biting my teeth. Oh, I'm pulling out my hair. Oh, what's God? No, because that doesn't help the situation. It never does. The worry, anxiety, and blah, blah, blah never, ever, ever leads to a better outcome than just handling it rationally and, methodically. Methodical is a good word. From top to bottom, starting from where you can start. You walk in. Oh, look, that switch is dead, right? Oh, then where does this switch go? And I knew all that anyway. And trace it back, and that switch is dead. And then let's go back. Let's go find what is actually working. Oh, that's working. That's working. That's working. Oh, that switch, pull it out of the rack. The rest of them are fine. And that switch connected fiber to the other switch on the other side, half a kilometer away. It was a main rack, and they had 5 other switches in their rack, 4 other switches. The rest of them were fine. That one switch was dead. So you tell me, I have fiber. I still can't figure it out. But they even, some people say, well, the conduit conducted electricity, because there was a conduit from the operations center basement to the main building. But I said, oh, sure, but the fiber goes down through the floor, no conduit from that switch that's dead in the operations center. The conduit is 20 feet below in the grade, goes 6 feet under the grade to the main building, comes out in the corner of the building and goes across the entire building, because there's a 15-bay garage there. It comes up at the end of the 15-bay garage, and the fiber goes all the way across by itself, no conduit, to the switch. Across 15 bays to where the rack was. There was no metal contact at all between the switch in the operation center and the switch in the main rack. There was none. There is no metal. There is nothing to conduct electricity. Anyway, it doesn't matter. That's one of those things that I'll just like, wow, the switch was dead. And people, it didn't happen. It did, because I took it out of the rack. We shipped it back to Cisco and got new ones. They verified all 3 switches were exactly the same dead. Whatever. I just love the little stories like that. Anyway, so you have to be confident in yourself. You have to be appreciative of who you are. Appreciate who you are. You should not need external want is fine. You should not need external validation to justify who you want to be, or who you are, or where you're going, or what you're doing. You should have it within yourself to be happy with who you are and what you want and where you want to go and who you want to be. and everything else, and this is also the important part, everything else after that, gravy. If people want to walk beside you, it's so much joy, it's so much happiness, because you're not dependent on it. You're not contingent. You are not contingent, not dependent. Your foundation is not going to be rocked if it's not there. But when people are there, I absolutely adore. And I look at my emails. I got another email from a friend from Germany. Fantastic! I get a little misty. I have a friend over there. It sends me emails, and we email back. I have friends in the U.S. I have friends that just send me emails from my YouTube channel. Hey Dave, how's it going? Absolutely adore that. I absolutely fundamentally, beautifully adore that. It doesn't make my foundation. It makes the cute flowers outside the foundation. It makes my life a little brighter, a little more happiness to know that there are other people out there who are happy with me as I am happy with them. But if they find other things to do with their life and they just don't send me emails anymore, I hope they have a nice life. And that's my other thing. If you want to walk in a separate direction away from me, because this isn't doing it for you anymore, have a nice life. You know where I'm going to be, because I'm walking in this direction. I'm not going to change. I'm going to be here in 20 years. So it's like, oh, but I wonder how Dave's doing. Let's check in on him in 2048. Come on back. Say hi. And I'll say, oh, yeah, how's it going, bud? And that's how I've handled my entire life, though. You have to be secure in yourself. You have to be fundamentally knowing that you are appreciated. You appreciate yourself. And then everything else is better. Everything else is gravy. This was going to go somewhere else, but we're already 46 minutes into it. I'm going to try to keep this part short. I am seriously thinking, and this is all started with RTL Toronto and Turolog, and I'm part of Turolog now, and I'm happy I am, and the people are wonderful, and I've been to a few events now. It's great. Online, I am probably going to remove myself from a few groups because I am very casual. I am not Simon. I am not Graham. I am not these other people who are the nexus of all these events, who do all this stuff, which is needed and necessary. They're fantastic doing it. I am not that person. I am the person, I use the expression, expect to see me when you see me, because my life does have a tendency of, getting in the way. That's we're going to find out next week. So I am not, I won't use the word dependable. I am not a person that's going to be at every single event all the time. I used to be that guy. And I liked being that guy back in the day with the Boy Scouts and the churches and all the volunteer organizations, that I was at every single event all the time. Show up first, leave last. I was that kind of person. I have now left that kind of lifestyle because it's not who I am now. People change. I'm not saying who you are now is where you have to be 15 years from now. So I am the guy who says, oh, the Bricks and the Six is coming up. I'm going to go. I'm going to bring X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to have a good time. I'm not going to go to every single event. I'm not going to be there first. I'm not going to be the last one out of the building, although that's usually what happens because it takes me a while to take the layout down. But I'm a casual person when it comes to this kind of stuff. Hello? I'll be up in a sec. So I'm a casual person. When I'm there, I'm going to give my best effort to make a great show for the public because that's important. I'm going to put my efforts into making Graham's show good. I'm not going to, not be supportive of his endeavors because this is fantastic and he's doing something fantastic and the entire crew doing something fantastic. I'm going to be a positive on the show. I'm hoping. I'm going to do my best to be a positive on the show because this is important and I do not want... I want more shows like this. I want them in Toronto. But I'm not going to volunteer to do stuff because, as I said, I've already done my bit for King and Country. Not necessarily this specific King and Country because Graham's never had me help him. And so, but I did all that back in my, single digits, teens, 20s, and 30s. And I am done with that. I'm done. Unless I really feel like I'm going to be a value-added service in some aspect of the root of the volunteer organization for these things, I'm just going to let everybody else take care of it. I'm going to show up, not be in anybody's way, just like the lightning strike. I'm not going to be in anybody's way. I'm not going to pull people away from what they're supposed to be doing. And this is what I can't stand about some shows that I've been to, where you have the people running around. They have their specific duties and they have their specific jobs. And you got the whiners who are displaying, saying, "Oh, I need you to take care of this thing before I can set my stuff up because I'm more important than whatever you're doing right now." Now, like these collaborators, these event personnel have jobs to do, and they're all volunteers, by the way. And this is what I got sick of doing the Boy Scouts for a while. They're all volunteers, and they don't need your crap. Put your big boy pants on, show up, do what you promised, and stay out of their way. If they say you get this much table space, then that's what you asked for, and that's what you get. And if you don't like where you are, oh, I wanted to be over by the door because it's got more people coming in. No, they put you there. Quit your whining. These people are volunteering their time and effort and energy, and they've been planning this for months before you stepped in the building. I'm going to show up. Callum, where am I putting this? Perfect. That's all you have to tell me. That's it. You go back and take care of everything else. I'll get this set up and stay out of your way. Because I've been on both sides of this. And I'll tell you, I've never seen my mom cry more than after a show when people were, and this is contrary to what I was talking about earlier, but she poured her heart and soul into every single event she ever did. She planned for months. She put all the effort, all the money, all the time and energy and got everything together. And that one lady, that one time at 3 p.m. when the thing's done at 4, and my mom made tons of packages for all the kids to whatever arts and crafts you're going to do. And she shows up, and you promised me this arts and crafts for my kid, and I didn't get it. Well, I'm thinking she didn't get out of bed till 2 in the afternoon, whatever. I'm not going to, whatever. But she's just laid into my mom. This was in the paper, and you said this was going to be part of it, and I showed up, and my kid doesn't get X. And I promised my kid, and the kid, Mommy. Like, if you don't have an understanding, you look around in the park, and there's a million kids there running around, and all the stuff, and the arts and crafts, the girls are cleaning it up, and they're done now, and you're showing up a half an hour before it closes, and you expect the same kind of, like, give your head a shake. This is why. That is one microcosm, one small thing that I got a million stories like that, is why I got out of it. Because of the lack of consideration and appreciation for those people who put the effort into doing these things and getting the flack. And I saw with Janie showed, that certain people would show up and they just wanted and they wanted and they wanted and they wanted. And I'm going, she's trying to run a good show for all of us. She can't just babysit you. She can't just accommodate you. She's got a whole show to take care of. So let her take care of the show. You do. Every one of these events, you go to a website, you log in, this is what I need, and whatever. And so she would give people what they asked for according, and mistakes happen, absolutely. Oh, I needed 4 feet, not 3 feet. Oh, sure. Well, or I needed 6 feet instead of 4 feet. Whatever. Sure. We'll try to work it out. But if there's a change like that, understand that these people are screwing around. These table layout guys are running around because there's not just you. There's 180 people showing up at the same time to set up their stuff. And because they didn't get to you in a timely fashion, you're going to, I'm going to take my ball and go home. Well, then go home. You're making it less joyous for me. And not that I'm the most important person around. But less joyous for anybody else who is there. Anyway, I'm happy I'm with Toro Lug. I'm going to talk about the other rant later. This is 54 minutes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say goodbye. And I'm actually going to upload this right now in public. So, because I want it to be there before the show starts, which, well, people are already there, as far as I was told, setting up. But that's just the people who are in on the end, setting everything up. So when we show up in the morning, everything is ready and good to go. Because running a show is a huge amount of effort. And I'm going to show up, I'm going to do what they tell me to do. I'm going to put my stuff where they tell me to put my stuff, and I'm going to be happy. And I'm going to try to stay out of everybody else's way whilst I'm doing it, because they got enough to worry about, and they don't need to worry about some whiny little petulant jackass, which isn't me. But I've seen it, and I've experienced it far too many times. I'm going to talk about the other stuff later. You guys all stay safe. I hope to see you at the show. And I know that some people who watch this channel cannot be at the show because they're elsewhere in the world. I will post videos. I will probably do a couple lives. I don't know yet. I'm going to probably do a live for the lights out, by the way. We'll have to see. You guys all stay safe. Take care. And I will talk to you soon.